Good evening and welcome to the Loxahatchee Improvements virtual public meeting. We are going to wait a few more minutes to allow for additional guests to arrive and to log in. Thank you very much.
Good evening. The Florida Department of Transportation would like to welcome you to the public meeting for the Loxahatchee Roadway Improvement Project. My name is Helen James, and I'm the FDOT Project Manager for this project. This public meeting is relative to Financial Management Project number 436-5641-5201. Before I introduce the project team, I would like to welcome our state representative to address our audience. I would also like to recognize and welcome Mayor Rich Walker and Commissioner Michael Udin. I will now pass it on to Representative Hanchowski. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much, Helen, and thank you everybody who's joining tonight. About 2 months ago, I met with John Kotick, Director of Legislative Affairs at FDOT, and Tori Alston, the Chief of Staff, and let them know that it was really important to our community that we get an update on the progress of Lox Road. For all of you who know, it has been a long process. Started with identifying it back in 2009, but it wasn't even added to the program until 2013, 2014, and then there have been some delays along the way. I would like to thank District 4 FDOT Secretary Jerry O'Reilly for his leadership in this, and also everybody, the staff who are here today for making time to give this presentation. And then at the end, they'll be there to answer your questions. And I really appreciate that they were able to do this. And with that, let's get started with the presentation. Thank you.
At this time, I will introduce the project team. With us here this evening, we have our consultant project manager, Mr. Scott Hollander, and Ms. Laura Rossi with Podion Design Group. Ms. Nanea, our community outreach specialist with Valerian. We also have a guest speaker, Mr. Ricardo Gutierrez, Mobility Program Manager with Broad Metropolitan Planning Organization. Next, I will go over this evening's agenda. We will start with some technical information. We'll cover the non-discrimination policy and rules of engagement. We'll provide a Ride Smart safety message. We'll cover the Broward MPO, and then we'll go into the project location and improvements, typical sections, project status, a new typical under review, noise analysis, project schedule and cost, and then we'll open up to questions and answers and end with the closing and contact information. I will now pass it on to Ms. Nanea to cover the first item on our agenda. Next slide, number 7.
Thank you so much, Helen. Good evening. My name is Nenea Marcial. I'm the Public Involvement Coordinator for this project, and I'll be moderating this evening. Before we start the presentation, I'll share a few items regarding our workshop format. For those following along with the PDF, we are now on slide 7. Due to the state of emergency declared by Governor DeSantis in Executive Order 20-52 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is authorized to be held virtually and not in person. We're using the GoToWebinar meeting platform, and there's no cost to the public to log in or dial in to participate in the meeting. On your computer screen or your device screen, you should see something that looks like the image that you're seeing here on this slide to the right-hand side. To listen into the meeting, your computer or device speakers are selected by default. If you prefer to listen in by phone, just select the telephone option in the audio pane of the control panel and dial in using the information displayed to you. The project information flyer is available to view in the handout section as well on your control panel. If you experience any technical difficulties whatsoever, please call 1-833-851-8340 and a member of our technical support team will help you. I'm going to read that number one more time. That's 1-833-851-8340. Slide 8, please. Slide 8. This virtual public meeting was advertised in the Florida Administrative Register on Florida Department of Transportation's public notices website and as well in social media. In addition, adjacent property owners, interested individuals, and elected and appointed officials, as well as government agencies, were also notified about this public meeting. Slide 9 and then slide 10, please. At this point, I will read the FDOT non-discrimination policy. We are on slide 10. The Florida Department of Transportation complies with various non-discrimination laws and regulations, including the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This meeting is being held without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. For questions or concerns, you may contact either the District 4 office, Title VI Coordinator Sharon Singhayan, or the Title VI Coordinator in the Tallahassee office, Jacqueline Paramore. Proceed to slide 11, please. I'll now briefly discuss some of the rules of engagement that were established for this virtual public meeting. This virtual public meeting is being recorded. All attendees will remain muted throughout the workshop, except for the open discussion forum. To provide a comment during the open discussion portion, please submit any questions or comments using the platform's question box at any time, and a member of our team will respond during the open discussion portion. You may also verbally comment or ask a question during this portion by using the raise hand button on your GoToWebinar panel. Once your microphone is unmuted, please provide your full name first and then your comment. Your microphone will remain unmuted until your comment has been addressed by the team. Please proceed to slide 12, and at this time, I would like to pass it over to Ms. Laura Rossi to talk about our Ride Smart Florida initiative.
Hi, thank you, Nenea. Hi, my name's Laura Rossi, and I'm with the Protean Design Team, and I'll be presenting this month's safety campaign provided by FDOT and FHWA. Slide 13, please. May is Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. Ride Smart Florida wants to highlight the importance of motorcycle safety and would like to encourage motorcyclists to take training beyond the basic rider course by advancing your riding experience to an all-new level. They are offering $75 off the experienced rider courses this month, offering advanced tips and techniques that let you own the road. Slide 14. As you can see, we are in the Florida motorcycle crash hotspot. So as a motorcyclist, it's a good time to remember to ride smart. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet when you ride. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Slide 15, please. And as drivers, you have the responsibility to watch out for motorcyclists. Increased awareness of motorcyclists will make you more likely to see them. Take extra time to look for motorcyclists in blind spots. Always assume a motorcyclist is closer than it appears. Don't expect them to be able to maneuver out of your way. They may take longer to stop, so allow for more following distance. Don't always expect to see brake lights when they are slowing down, since they could be downshifting. See more than just the motorcycle, see the person under the helmet. They could be a friend, neighbor, or relative. And as a reminder to motorcyclists, be smart and be seen. Wearing reflective or fluorescent clothing and light-colored helmets and using headlights even during the daytime could reduce injuries from motorcycle crashes. And now I'd like to pass it on to Ricardo.
Let me check. Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Ricardo Gutierrez. I'm the Mobility Program Manager at the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization. So who's the Broward MPO? We are a government agency established by federal law to plan, prioritize, and fund transportation here in Broward. We fund things like bicycle lanes, sidewalks, capacity improvements, and also we provide some funding to transit, to a transit provider. And we also, as our role, we also influence the expenditures of state and other federal funds as well. Our MPO board is made up of representatives for all 31 municipalities. Your current representative from the city of Parkland is Mayor Rich Walker. And of course, I have to recognize Representative Komchowski, who played a key role in moving this project forward as a member of our MPO board. We also have representatives from Broward County Government, the Broward County School Board, the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, who manage and operate our commuter tri-rail service in the Tri-County region. And how do we identify projects? We're actually tasked with developing plans, conduct studies, establish initiatives and programs. Next slide, please. Of course, one of our most important plans is our long-range transportation plan. This is our vision plan that looks up for 25 years. This project was identified in this plan adopted by our board in 2009. Eventually got programmed for funding in 2013. Some of the objectives of this project are to improve safety for all modes, improve multimodal connectivity along this corridor. We want to make sure people can have choices to either walk, bike, or drive their cars, and also provide direct access to the Conservation Levee Greenway. And of course, improve the ADA environment and along the corridor. So with that ends my quick presentation. I'll be here to answer any questions that you have throughout the entire presentation. I'll turn it back to Laura.
Actually, it comes to me, Scott Horlander. Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Horlander. I'm the consultant project manager with Protein Design Group and the engineer of record for the project. Today, I'm here to walk you through some of the project-specific improvements and the purpose of the project. Next slide, 19, please. So the project location is up on the screen now. It begins at the Wildlife Refuge on the west end and extends eastward about 6 miles over to State Road 7. Next slide, 20, please. So the purpose of the project, the project is a collaborative effort between the City of Parkland, Broward County, the Broward MPO, and the Florida Department of Transportation. It is a priority project of the Broward MPO, and with the purpose of accommodating bicycles and pedestrians within the corridor. Next slide, 21, please. So the project improvements are widening the pavement to accommodate bike lanes and sidewalk. There are no additional travel lanes anticipated or to be added as part of this project. We're also in some areas constructing a raised median. We're upgrading the guardrail on the north side of the project, the north side of the roadway, I mean. We are constructing intersection improvements, including roundabouts, specifically at Nob Hill Road, University Drive, and Parkside Drive. And we're also constructing an additional eastbound left turn lane at the State Road 7 approach, State Road 7 intersection. Next slide, 22, please. So along the corridor, there are 4 typical sections that vary between different segments of the project. The widths of the proposed bike lane, the median, and the sidewalk vary depending on the typical and due to the available right-of-way. So starting at the west end of the project, the first typical extends from the Wildlife Refuge over to University Drive, and as shown here, it includes a 16.5-foot median, 2 11-foot travel lanes, a 7-foot buffered bike lane in each direction, and also there's an 8-foot existing sidewalk on the south side of the road that's going to remain. Next slide, 23, please. So the next typical section goes from University Drive over to Parkside Drive, as you can see here. In this typical, we have a 7-foot raised median, 2 11-foot travel lanes, a 5-foot bike lane, and we are constructing a 6-foot sidewalk on the south side of the roadway. Next slide, 24, please. So from Parkside Drive over to 620 feet east of Northwest 61st Way, the typical looks like this. We have 2 11-foot travel lanes. We no longer have space within the right-of-way for a median, so that was not part of this typical. We have 5-foot bike lanes in either direction, and we are constructing a 6-foot sidewalk on the south side of the roadway. Next slide, 25, please. And the final typical section is from 620 feet east of Northwest 61st Way over to State Road 7. And as you can see here, we have reintroduced the median. It's a 12-foot median now with 11-foot travel lanes in each direction. And we are including in this area a 7-foot buffered bike lane in both directions. And we are constructing a 6-foot sidewalk on the south side of the roadway. Next slide, 25, please. So as I mentioned before, we are constructing roundabouts at 3 of the intersections along the corridor, including Nob Hill Road, University Drive, and Parkside Drive. And you can see a depiction here on this slide. One of the main features, important features of a roundabout is its ability to calm traffic. And there's a lot of other safety benefits, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute, and a lot of other general features that are beneficial to a roadway corridor. But it's also something that the general public needs to get used to and be comfortable driving on. So the team is going to collaborate with the city in order to inform the public on roundabout rules and benefits at a future time. Next slide, 27, please. So I mentioned there are a lot of safety benefits, a lot of benefits to a roundabout. This is a chart that's provided by the FHWA and depicts some of the main benefits of a roundabout in terms of safety. The first one there on the left, overall collisions are reduced by the introduction of a roundabout by 37%. Injury collisions are reduced by 75%, and fatalities are reduced by 90%. And pedestrian collisions are reduced by 40%. So very positive safety benefits with regard to roundabouts. Next slide, 28, please. I mentioned before that there are some other features of a roundabout that are very important. And really the reason that roundabouts have such a great safety record is because of the design features that they have. That they promote the efficient flow of traffic, and at the same time they're able to control vehicle speed, which is somewhat results in, or it does result in a lot of the safety improvements that you have there at a roundabout. So on this enlargement of the proposed roundabout, this is a proposed roundabout at University Drive. You might notice that there's a deliberate curvature of the lanes entering and exiting the intersection along Loxahatchee Road. This feature forces drivers to slow down as they enter the intersection and stay at a safe speed until they have exited on the other side. So by the nature of their design, the roundabouts allow for safer turning movements. And this will be especially helpful at University Drive, where the skewed nature of the intersection makes it very difficult for northbound approaching drivers to be able to see left and right in the current conditions. So that'll be a big help. Also at Nob Hill and Parkside Drive, the roundabouts include an additional feature referred to as a bypass lane, a right turn bypass lane. And this is an addition that helps traffic flow in a more efficient manner and through the intersection. So all three of the roundabouts are going to have lighting provided, and they've been designed to accommodate emergency vehicles and other large delivery trucks, school buses, and things of that nature. I also want to point out the photo in the lower left-hand side of the slide there. It was taken at the roundabout at Parkside Drive and Holmberg Road. This is just an example of what these roundabouts will end up looking like in the future once they're constructed, similar to that one that you see in the photo. Next slide, 29, please. So with regard to the maintenance of traffic, there are basically 5 different segments along the roadway where we have various approaches to the maintenance of the traffic during construction. And I'll talk about those here. So construction is going to be completed using both temporary and lane closures, temporary lane closures and detours, within segments 1, 2, and 3 that you see starting from the west end at the refuge going east to Parkside Drive. That's segments 1, 2, and 3. Those will be a combination of lane closures with some detours, and then 4 and 5 will mostly be detours within those segments, using Hillsborough Boulevard as the primary source of the detour. There are special accommodations incorporated into the plan to maintain access to neighborhoods or businesses with only a single point of access. That includes the Four Seasons community, as well as the Park and Place community. The detours that are utilized for segments 4 and 5 that I noted there before are going to allow for maintenance of one directional traffic on Loxahatchee Road to be open at all times while the opposite is detoured, and then it'll flip eventually when the other side of the road has to be constructed, but at all times one direction will be maintained. Lane closures are not going to be allowed during peak traffic hours. Lane closures, nighttime work will not be allowed east of Parkside Drive. And also there will be a public informational workshop that will be held prior to the beginning of construction. Next slide 30, please. So a little bit about the project status. So the design is ahead of schedule currently and will be completed in May of 2022. Permit processing due to environmental and drainage impacts took some additional time, and while almost all the permits are now received, they did take quite a bit of time, which is a lot for some of the time that the design has taken, the extended time that the design has taken. There is coordination going on with the utility owners along the eastbound Loxahatchee Road, mainly on the south side of the road. Some to do with the widening of the roadway will impact those utilities overhead and underground, as well as FP&L has some undergrounding of their facility project ongoing, and also replacing many of their wood poles in some of the sections with concrete poles. So that's all ongoing, plus there are some relocations, as I mentioned, as a result of the road widening. We're also in the process of coordinating with property owners to remove all the right-of-way encroachments, and also obtain harmonizing easements where we have driveway tie-ins that go outside of the existing right-of-way. Next slide, 31, please. So a value engineering study was performed for this project in February of this year, and it generated a recommendation for an alternative typical section, which is currently under review for this segment from the Wildlife Refuge over to University Drive. Next slide, 32, please. So the new typical section that's currently under review is shown here. As I said, it extends from the Wildlife Refuge over to University Drive. As you can see, it includes two 12-foot travel lanes, a 12.5-foot median, but it also includes 5-foot bike lanes in each direction with a 5-foot raised buffer between the bike lanes and the vehicular traffic. Also, as you can see, the sidewalk on the south side, the 8-foot sidewalk remains just like on our original typical. Next slide, 33, please. So a noise analysis was conducted for this quarter, which resulted in the identification of 2 locations, specifically the Parkland Place and the Mayfair communities, where the existing noise levels exceed the FDOT noise abatement criteria levels. Additionally, the noise analysis provided a pre and post-construction comparison of the noise levels at these locations, which showed there will be no increase in the amount of noise within those communities as a result of the Loxahatchee Road project. Next slide, 34, please. So even though there are 2 locations for which noise levels currently exceed the FDOT noise abatement criteria levels, the cost of any kind of noise abatement system cannot be included in this project because of the type of project that it is and the associated funding. Specifically, for a project to be evaluated and receive federal funding for any kind of noise abatement, it must be one of these following types as defined in the FHWA noise standard 23 CFR 772. So as you can see here, type 1 is a project that involves substantial horizontal alteration of the roadway, horizontal or vertical alteration of the roadway. Type 2 is a project that is solely a noise abatement project. And type 3 are any projects that are not classified under type 2 or type 3. Excuse me, I'm sorry, type 1 or type 2. Specifically, type 3 projects include construction of bicycle and pedestrian lanes, paths, and facilities. So the Loxahatchee Road project is a type 3, and it should be noted that while the noise analysis was conducted for the project in an effort to be proactive, it is not required for projects of this type. And federal funds cannot be used to provide any sort of noise abatement. Next slide, 35, please. So to summarize, a noise analysis was conducted for this project corridor, and it was provided to the city of Parkland. And as part of the study, it was determined that the existing noise levels exceed the FDOT noise abatement criteria at 2 locations, and therefore additional analyses were done at those locations to evaluate potential abatement measures. The which is estimated, excuse me. I'm sorry, anyways, as mentioned previously, a noise barrier is not currently included in this project because it is not eligible for funding. Next slide, 36, please. So as I mentioned before, there are 2 locations where existing noise levels do exceed the FDOT noise abatement criteria levels, and those are at the Parkland Place and the Mayfair communities on the eastern end of the project. Next slide, 37, please. So at the city's request, a report was prepared which evaluated the use of a perimeter wall in the vicinity of the Parkland Place and Mayfair communities. And while a perimeter wall does provide a physical barrier between the highway and the adjacent properties, it is not intended to or capable of providing any measurable noise reduction. Next slide, 38, please. So as I mentioned before, there are a lot of conflicts that would result as in terms of trying to install a noise, either a noise wall or a perimeter wall in the area of these 2 communities, primarily because of the amount of utilities that are in the area, overhead and underground. And in order to relocate those utilities, which would be required to install the wall, there would need to be additional right-of-way that would need to be acquired or obtained somehow so that the utilities have a location to relocate to. It would also require the complete removal of the landscape berm that you can see there in the lower right of the slide. As a result of the wall installation, it would impact that berm as well. And then it would also require the elimination of the proposed left turn lane, which is a feature that is currently designed in the westbound direction and into Northwest 61st Way. Next slide, 39, please. So a little bit about the project schedule and cost. As I mentioned previously, the design portion of this project began back in 2017, and it has continued steadily since then, notwithstanding some delays due to some unanticipated permitting that needed to be done that took longer than anticipated. Next slide, 40, please. But overall, the project schedule and cost are identified on this slide. The final design completion is anticipated to be May of 2022. The letting date, which is when the contractors and potential contractors open the bids, is in August of 2022. The construction is anticipated to start in the fall of 2022, and the anticipated completion in the summer of 2024, and with an overall construction cost of estimated at $23.5 million. And with that, that completes my presentation. I turn it back to Nanea, please.
Great. Thank you so much, Scott, for that. You could go to slide 42, please. We are now going to begin our question and answer portion of the meeting. We're going to begin by first addressing the questions that have been submitted through the question box. Then we'll follow it by an open discussion portion where anyone will be able to ask a question or state a comment verbally. Remember that all questions and comments through these options are part of the public record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the department during project decision making. Again, to provide any additional comments, written comments, you can use the GoToWebinar question panel to submit any comments or questions right now. If your question is not responded to during this event, a response will be provided to you in writing following this virtual meeting. So this is the part of the public meeting that we would like to hear from you. Staff are going to be present here to respond to your questions as far as time allows. And the complete set of questions and answers will be posted on the project website. So before we begin reading the questions that have come through, I know we do have a few elected officials here. So I'd like to give a few minutes in case any one of you would like to say a few comments. I know we have Mayor Rich Walker from the city of Parkland. Mayor Walker, would you like to say a few words? If not, you don't have to. I'd just like to give you the option. I know we have Commissioner Udine here as well. If you would like to say a few comments, please unmute yourself. Again, you do not have to. I'd just like to provide an opportunity for our elected officials to have the floor. Okay. Let's see. Let's just get just want to make sure that nobody is muted. Okay, seeing none, we are going to proceed with our questions that have been submitted through the question box. Our first question is from Ira, who lives in Parkland. His question is, I live at the Four Seasons Parkland. When the Lox Road construction does start, will there be a second entrance or exit made available for my community? And this is the Four Seasons Parkland.
Can you say that? Did you ask if there's going to be an additional exit at the Four Seasons as a result of the project? No, there's no, not as a result of the Loxahatchee Road project. There are not any additional accesses being provided to that community or any others, I don't think, along the way.
Okay, thank you for that, Scott. We have a comment. Let's see. Comment is, can we get a copy of the presentation? That I can answer. Yes, a copy of this presentation will be available on the project website, as well as a video of this presentation as well. Okay, our next question submitted through the question box is, when was the noise study conducted?
Yeah, the noise study was conducted in, I believe, in the latter part of, latter part of 2018, I believe. If Laura and Helen may correct me on that, if that's off, I believe that was the time frame.
That is correct, and the study, the report was finalized in August 2019.
Okay, thank you very much. An additional question by Ms. Tracy Kaplan. Along the Mayfair section, what is the proposed elevation differential of the new road compared to the top of the existing berm? I don't know if you want me to read that again.
I think I got it. The road is not changed. The profile of the road is not changing. So it's the same elevation difference between the the road now as it is to the top of the berm that's there, and it will be that way in the future as well.
Thank you very much. I just want to address, Drew Nathanson had submitted a couple of comments in the question box. Drew, if you would like after this, you're welcome to address your concerns and comments in the verbal portion. Okay, I'm going to proceed to our next question. Okay. So, concern by Mr. Nathanson. It's amazing as to how you have glossed over the noise issue. He is concerned about the noise issue and that you have not discussed this with the homeowners at Mayfair.
Well, let me just address the technical aspect of the noise issue and just point out something to help clarify. The roadway, the project, as designed, or for the improvements that we're proposing, they do not move the traffic any closer to any of the existing communities, and there's no additional lanes or anything of that nature. It's only a bike lane project, bike lane and pedestrian feature project, and so it will not affect or increase the amount of the levels of noise for any of the communities along the entire project. And the second half of that, can you say that again, Neneh, if you would, please? The second half, reaching out to the Mayfair communities, I believe it was.
Reaching out, yes.
And I do not recall the exact, and I haven't been involved in the interactions with the various HOAs directly, but I know a lot of that was handled by, I think, Helen, I think you might have been involved. If you can give us your take or background on that, if you have any.
Thank you, Scott. And these are very valid concerns from Mr. Drew. During our coordination, we've been dealing directly with the city. We can also reach out to the HOAs. That's something we're open to. We can provide them with the noise study. We can explain to them in detail how we are not adding capacity to the project. It is a bike ped project, so we're not increasing the travel lanes, just like Scott mentioned, but we are open to talking to the HOAs as well.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we have an additional question from Megan Ramon. What about nighttime work west of Parkside Drive?
West of Parkside Drive, nighttime work is, it will be allowed west of Parkside Drive. Yes, I'm sorry, I had my directions. Yeah, west of Parkside is allowed. East of Parkside, it will not be allowed.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question is from Milton Rodriguez. Okay, today, if there is an accident, vehicles, including emergency responders, can go around other vehicles by passing on the opposite lane. With the addition of a median, how would this be achieved?
Well, the medians, first of all, they have a mountable curb associated with them, so the vehicles can go up and over the curb. They could actually even, vehicles of that nature could easily cross over these medians and use the other side. But also there's, we have allotted for additional, for enough pavement, that is, in other words, if a car broke down, and they moved to the bike lane, for example, if they had the time to do that, then the emergency vehicles could go around the left side of them. And if they needed to mount the median curb or into the median, they could do that. If a car just stopped in the lane, the emergency vehicle could go to the right of them or go over the median completely. Those things were considered and thought of, and that is how we accommodated those situations.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to remind people that anyone who has their hands raised, please just be patient. We will get to you as soon as we finish this written question portion. We will get to everyone who has their hands raised. Okay, our next question. Is it true if the sidewalk along the Mayfair section was removed or made smaller, would it it would provide a more safe area to the homes that back up to Lox Road by eliminating pedestrian access. I'll repeat that one more time. Do you need me to repeat that? Scott?
Yes, could you please?
Yes. Okay. Is it true if the sidewalk along the Mayfair section was removed or made smaller, it would provide a more safe area to the homes that back up to Lox Road by eliminating pedestrian access?
If it was made smaller, it would become safer. That, if I'm understanding it correctly, I would say no, that if you made the sidewalk smaller, it would make it less safe. I mean, the minimum size for, the minimum width for a sidewalk is against the back of the curb is 6 feet. And in some cases, in cases where you have what's called a utility strip, which is a 2 or 3 foot section from the back of curb to a sidewalk, then you are allowed to have 5 feet. But the reasons for those minimum widths is to enhance safety. Making them smaller would make them less safe. And hopefully I'm understanding the question correctly. And
I just want to add to that. So this project is making the roadway safer for all users, the cyclists, the pedestrians, and the vehicles. So putting in this sidewalk makes it safer for the pedestrians to walk on. We are not putting in the sidewalk to lead the pedestrians into the homeowners' houses. That's not the intent of the project.
Okay. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Scott. All right, I'll proceed to our next question. The median seems wide. Why is that?
The median was, the city has a desire to come back and provide landscaping for these medians. And so the wider the median is, which actually the medians that are proposed where they are wider, like 12 to 16 feet or whatever, those are actually fairly standard as far as medians go for those kinds of medians that are going to be landscaped. And there's reasons for that. It's you can put larger plants, for example, into a wider median, and also there are safety concerns with regard to maintenance of those plants. And so the wider median allows for maintenance crews to work in there safely and trim plants and what have you, whatever they need to do in order to maintain those. And I think that's really it. It comes down to the desire to have robust landscaping and the safety concerns with whatever landscaping's in there with the workers as well as the traveling public, and the offset to any kind of a fixed object like a tree. We have to be careful to make those offset far enough so that it's safe.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question is, given that the sidewalk on the south side of Lox Road is missing over the NSID Canal, west of Cascada, and east of the Watercrest developments, will the new sidewalk cross over the canal?
Yes, I mean, the sidewalk will be continuous. There's some sidewalk, as I mentioned in the presentation, out there that is on the south side of the road that's existing. And wherever, when that terminates, which I believe is at Nob Hill Road, east of there, we will be constructing sidewalk continuously all the way to State Road 7. So it'll be a complete connection.
Did anyone want to add into that? No? Okay.
No,
All right.
I got it.
Our next question is, do you have a slide showing the Parkside Hillsborough development entrance roundabouts?
That I do not, that Parkside in Hillsborough, I do not have a slide for that.
Okay. Our next question, what is the right-of-way encroachment?
We are not, there is no, okay, in my presentation, I thought you meant the widening itself. The widening of the roadway in order to accommodate the bike lanes is done completely within the city and the county right-of-way, with the exception of the Parkside roundabout, which does extend into some city property. Really the only other encroachments, as I was referring to in the presentation, are the driveway tie-ins. A lot of the roadway is up relatively high compared to the adjacent properties, mostly the farming properties. And as a result, when we widen over to the south, which our widening stays within the right-of-way, but there's less room for the tie-in that exists today, a driveway tie-in onto their property. And so what has to be done is to construct the driveway tie-in off of the county or the city property, but onto private property. So we're coordinating those, what we call harmonizing easements with those individuals, so that we can allow the contractor that does the construction for this job to go on their property and put in a proper tie-in for their driveways. And that's what I was referring to.
And
Yes, go ahead, Laura.
and as an example to that, also a right-of-way encroachment could be some landscaping items that have entered into the city's right-of-way or the county's right-of-way that have to be moved as a tree or a sign or of that sort. And we work with the individual communities or developments to eliminate those, so the contractor doesn't just remove them without their knowledge.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Laura.
Okay, great, thank you very much. We'll move on to our next question from Marsha. It's actually a comment. I understand how the roundabouts are expected to help with the flow of traffic, but I don't understand how it can possibly help with the amount of traffic. It seems to me that the additional lanes for traffic would be more important than bike lanes.
Well, the roundabouts, as you commented, they will have the effect of improving flow through those intersections, especially or as we go forward in time. If there is additional traffic, the existing intersections as they stand today would become much more impassable unless something was done. So the roundabouts will provide a significant benefit at those locations. As far as the roadway overall itself, all I can say is this is only a bike project, and the intent overall of roadway designs in many cases in this day and age is to provide a full solution, not just for the vehicles that are passing through and getting from point A to point B, but also to provide other forms of mobility, and bike lanes and pedestrian features and pedestrian facilities are one of those ways in order to provide sort of a holistic transportation view in a corridor. So it's maybe arguable about the value of capacity and lanes compared to bike lanes, but this project is simply that, a bike lane and pedestrian project, and will provide improved safety for those users, as well as the traveling public and vehicles as well. So hopefully that helps answer.
Thank you very much. Our next question from Ted. East of University Drive, the bike lanes appear next to the roadway with no physical barriers. Is there any way that the westbound bike lane can be moved to north of the guardrail and use the new space provided to create a physical barrier on the eastbound bike lane?
Well, that's an excellent question, and it is something that we looked into. We recognize, as you did, that there is a significant amount of space on the north side of the road there, which belongs to the South Florida Water Management District. Unfortunately, although it may appear as there is a significant amount of space, when you talk to the folks at South Florida and understand better their maintenance requirements, and the fact that in some areas it narrows down between quite significantly between the Loxahatchee Road corridor and the berm that goes down into the canal, and so while it appears continuous, there are a lot of obstacles with doing something like that, not to mention the South Florida Water Management District, as we coordinated and we realized that they were not able to let us use that because of the maintenance requirements that they have and the equipment that they have to get in and out of there in order to maintain those canals and the banks and what have you.
Thank you very much. Our next actually is a comment, not a question, by Christina. Her comment is, the noise has increased tremendously since the noise analysis was conducted. This is unacceptable. I don't know if that's something that the team wants to address.
Well, I'll start. I can empathize. Nobody wants a lot of noise around their home or their communities. I can only tell you that the Loxahatchee Road project that we're designing will have no impact whatsoever on increasing any kind of noise levels as a result of the project. And so hopefully that helps. So hopefully, Laura or Helen, if you have anything you'd like to add to that, or.
Yeah, for this type of project, it's a type 3 project. We typically would not do a noise analysis for it because we're not adding capacity to the project. And yeah, Scott, you covered the rest. Next question.
Thank you so much. All right, our next question is by Eric Dolman. His question is, will they be building a pedestrian bridge connecting the sidewalks over the waterway on the south side of Lox between Watercrest and Nob Hill Road?
Yeah, the question was as was asked earlier. No, there's really not a pedestrian bridge. We will be widening the road, and the box, it's actually a box culvert there, I believe. Laura, is that correct? Yeah, it's a box culvert, and it will be extended, and the sidewalk will be built over top of that. So you could consider that a pedestrian bridge in a way, but it's really a box culvert extension with a sidewalk built over top of it. But it will be continuous, and the pedestrians will be able to transverse the entire area.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next question from Robert Jones. Will there be passing abilities to pass cars that are proceeding slower than the speed limit?
No, there is no facility within the corridor for us. I mean, for that kind of operation, there are no passing lanes. I mean, there are not any passing lanes. I mean, and it's only a single lane in either direction, so that is not included.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next question is from Kimberly. The noise level from 2018 to now is very different. Is there a process for redoing the noise study?
I really don't know the answer to that, and I'm gonna pass that on to Helen because I know she has a lot more knowledge about those types of things.
Thank you, Scott. For this type of project, again, we're gonna reiterate, it's a mobility project. We're not adding capacity. So we're not gonna be doing another noise study. Next question.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, our next question is from Megan. And the question is, what are the allowed operating hours of nighttime work west of Parkland?
Actually, I don't have those in front of me. I don't know if Laura, if you might have them.
Yeah, roughly off the top of my head, it was from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's the allowable time frame.
Thank you for remembering that.
Thank you very much. All right, our next question is from Anthony. What about ingress and egress from Chabad and S&B Landscaping just east of Parkside? If right turn only, I guess means if right turn only, how does anyone get back west of these parcels when they go east to get there?
Can you repeat that one more time? Okay, yeah, sure.
Yes.
It's a long question, but yes. So these are the properties just east of Parkside Drive. We did discuss the Chabad before. Right now, our design has the vehicles going around the roundabout, essentially making a U-turn and then heading back east to access the two properties. We are still talking with the city and the county about those existing, because right now there's existing left turn lanes. So we are talking to the city and county and trying to find a better way to go forward.
Thank you so much. All right, our next question. Sorry if you addressed this already, but what measures are you taking to address speeding on the western part of Loxahatchee?
Well, as far as the project itself goes and the design, the introduction of medians, for example, and curb, as well as the roundabouts, are all calming type features. And so those are benefits that will come out of the construction of this project. Beyond that, any kind of law enforcement or anything like that is not something that would be part of this project. But, so, maybe that would be something that would be introduced by others, but it's not part of this project.
Thank you very much. All right, our next question from Eric Tolman. Will they be reinstalling the speed humps on the stretch of locks between Nob Hill Road and the Nature Park? It is constantly used as a drag raceway.
No, the speed humps are not going to be reinstalled as part of the project. And as I mentioned with response to the last question, the roundabouts themselves and the introduction of medians and curb will help slow the traveling public down.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next one is a comment that I will just state for the record from Kimberly. The development in the Western communities has increased by a lot, and the future development will only make this worse. The noise study needs to be redone again. Okay, I'll proceed to, did you want to address that, Scott?
No, unless
Okay,
Helen
I was
does.
just reading it.
Same answer.
I could
Go
just
ahead.
jump in here real quick. This is something they'll have to take up with the city, because if I recall correctly, when for the new developments, the city has stricter requirements. They have to put a higher raised berm, and that does cut down the noise levels. The existing berms that are there on the west side of Loxahatchee Road, when the noise analysis was conducted, there was no significant difference between what is there today and what we proposed when we put in a median and moved the road closer.
Thank you very much. All right, we have another question from Tracy Kaplan. Would eliminating the sidewalk altogether be safer?
No, the sidewalk is a significant benefit to the corridor, providing pedestrian safety measures that for much of the corridor right now does not exist. Anybody walking along the corridor would have to utilize the side of the road, which is much less safe. So no, the sidewalk is added as a safety feature, and it will provide that safety.
Thank you so much. Our next question is, how much closer will the road be to the houses in the Four Seasons on the western part?
It will not be any closer to the travel lanes, excuse me, the travel lanes, which are the lanes with which the motorized vehicles are traveling on, will not be any closer to any of the communities throughout the entire corridor.
Just want to clarify one thing, except the areas where we're putting in the medians. So that median width, I think the largest width we have there is 16 feet. So that's how close they would be.
Yeah,
in only the areas we're putting in the medians.
I apologize. I was focusing in on the areas where there are the noise issues on the eastern end of the project. But thank you for correcting me there, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, our next question from Elliot. If the median is landscaped, how will emergency vehicles be able to use that space?
The landscaping, particularly for the areas where we have a 7 foot wide median, the type of landscaping that would be in there would be things that could be traversed by an emergency vehicle. And while it would not be desirable to constantly have the landscaping run over by emergency vehicles, the anticipation is that would be a minimal occurrence, and the maintenance would have to repair any kind of landscaping, but they would be able to be run over basically, and you know, not prevent the emergency vehicle from reaching their destination if they had to. Oh, I'm sorry, but also in the wider medians, there's anything that would actually obstruct any kind of a vehicle would be toward the center of that median and would be far enough away that the emergency vehicle could still mount the curb and get around any other stop vehicle or whatever, and then go back onto the travelway and not hit any anything that would actually obstruct it. It might again destroy some of the landscaping, which will have to be then repaired, but that is the way it would happen if it had to.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Our next question from Sean. At peak traffic times, the roadway is, in my opinion, over capacity. How do these improvements mitigate traffic backups at US 441?
That's a great question. So at 441, and I mentioned this in the presentation, there is an additional eastbound left turn lane that is being constructed. It's designed and constructed, and so as a result of that, we will even be modifying the existing signal at that intersection by adding an additional pole, basically an upright master arm pole, and additional heads in order to accommodate the additional lane. So that should significantly help that backup at that area.
So he has an additional, I'm going to read, there's a little bit of continuation here. At peak traffic times, the roadway is, in my opinion, over capacity. How do these improvements mitigate traffic backups at US 441 west of the intersection, not including the traffic in and out of Wawa? One extra turn left lane does not accommodate the high traffic volumes at peak times.
So if I understand correctly, they are talking about, Nenea, they are talking about the eastbound left turn lanes at State Road 7, though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have actually analyzed that, and the numbers show that it will accommodate the peak hour traffic by just adding that additional left turn lane. I just didn't quite follow what the part of the question about the Wawa, so I hope I'm answering that correctly. But if someone has additional comment on that, or maybe I didn't answer anything, let me know. I can help add to that if need be.
No, you answered it, Scott. You did analyze the two left turn lanes, and they should be able to accommodate the peak hour traffic at that location.
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks.
Okay, we have a couple of questions from Sean Lehman. First of his questions is, what are the intentions to manage pull-off locations traditionally used for fishing, Nob Hill Canal Bridge over the L39 Canal, etc.?
Well, this project doesn't have any accommodations to change what might be taking place in those areas with regard to pulling off for fishing, since it is really focused on the Loxahatchee Road corridor itself. And really the focus beyond that is bike lanes, adding medians and pedestrian features. So we don't have any proposed accommodations for that particular issue.
Okay, his second concern comment is, please coordinate with Parkland Parks and Rec on their long-range plan to extend the multi-use trail in what was the planned extension on Riverside Drive between Holmberg and Loxahatchee Road. And he has a third here. His third is, please use 8-foot sidewalks in section 5 specifically and minimize the size of the 12-foot raised median. The other section 4 between Parkside and Northwest 61st Way, if possible, please expand, excuse me. This is a long one. If If possible, please expand. I'm sorry, I can't see the answer here. Please expand to 8 foot if row is available. The ideal width for two-way sidewalk in this scenario, where only one sidewalk is provided rather than two. You should expect significant recreational use along this path upon opening by a variety of users who should be able to easily pass each other. Just comments for the record.
Nanea, could you repeat the first part of that question again, if you don't mind? Just want to make sure I put the whole thing in context.
And I believe these are just his comments. His second and third comment is the third comment. Please use 8 foot sidewalks in section 5 specifically and minimize the size of the 12 foot raised median. The other section 4 between Parkside and Northwest 61st Way, if possible, please expand to 8 foot if ROW, road, is available. The ideal width for two-way sidewalk in this scenario where only one sidewalk is provided rather than two. You should expect significant recreational use along this path upon opening by a variety of users who should be able to easily pass each other.
All right, well, so thank you. And starting first of all, with the area between, or in the area of 61st Way, that is the tightest right of way on the entire project. And so unfortunately, we were limited to the sidewalk width that we have designed today in that area. We don't have any additional space for making it any wider. Now further down the road, we do have a 6 foot sidewalk proposed in that area, and I know as you commented that maybe an additional 2 feet, I think you said, would be ideal. And you're right, that would need to be removed from the median area, but the overall approach or idea, as we designed the project and through feedback from various stakeholders involved, was to not only provide the pedestrians and the bike lane facilities, but the balance of that along with the traffic calming measures that's associated with raised medians. And having more robust plants, a more robust planting program is available if you put that in a wider, such as a 12 foot median, as opposed to like the 7 foot medians that we only have further down the road. That was all considered, and the right balance could be argued, but there are benefits to both. And what is designed today, given that we don't have that many opportunities to put in a 12 foot median in the corridor, we're limited by right of way through much of it to just have the 7 foot. This area seemed most appropriate to include the 12 foot median, and the trade-off being a little bit narrower sidewalk in this area, but it still is a significantly and appropriate wide sidewalk at 6 feet.
And Scott, to add to that, in this location, it's a pretty short distance for a typical, and we go from median through the curve, and it develops into a turn lane also. So taking space from the median would then, once the median ends, would be taking space from a turn lane also, which is cannot be done in this area to provide it to the sidewalk.
That's true. Thank you, Laura.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question is from Lenore. The sidewalk east of Nob Hill is not continuous. There is a break at the canal. You didn't answer the previous question on this. Will there be a continuous sidewalk over the canal?
Yes. So hopefully I must not have been very clear with the connection, and I think what you're referring to is where the canal, where the sidewalk passes over, or we need to pass over a crossing, and it has it's being done through the extension of the box culvert that passes underneath the roadway in that area. And once that's extended, then the sidewalk can just be built on top of it. So hopefully that helps clarify, but that's the approach that's being taken, and it will be continuous all throughout the corridor.
Thank you very much. All right, our next question from Becky Graham. If no slide, can you explain what it would look like to roundabouts? Now, I just want to be clear, Ms. Graham, if we're not understanding this correctly, please, make sure you comment in the verbal portion. So I think you're asking what the 2 roundabouts will look like. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, so what the 2 roundabouts at which locations? I'm sorry.
I don't think she didn't say the locations here, but this was back when she asked for the slide for Hillsborough and Parkside Drive. Now that part of the roadway is outside our project limits, so we wouldn't have those roundabouts. We could request them from the city to see what the proposed roundabout would look like, but we do not have those as part of this project.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next question from Doug Bruce. When was this project defined as a type 3 project, meaning no noise abatement would be eligible for federal funding?
Well, from the very beginning, the project always was a type 3 because it doesn't fit the criteria for the other 2 types. And again, just to reiterate, the other 2 types, the first type would require the changing of the roadway horizontally significantly toward the adjacent properties, or a vertical elevation change to the roadway, neither of which applies. And the second one was a project that is only for noise abatement, which this project is not. So type 3 is just all other projects basically. So and specifically bike lane and pedestrian improvement projects are type 3s. So it was never anything more than that at all. It never did include any noise abatement, conceptually, and it doesn't now. So it never was considered anything but a type 3.
Thank you so much. Our next question from Jennifer Davey. Can you clarify the detour during construction for Lox Parkside? The Hillsborough extension no longer exists, and it appears to be on the slide showing the detour.
Yeah, the detour is actually utilizing Parkside Drive. And so that's what's the intent, and hopefully it is a small scale, so it's maybe hard to see, but hopefully that answers it. So that Holmberg connection is gone, you're correct, and we're not using that. We are intending to use the Parkside Drive intersection to bypass the segment from there east to State Road 7 and use that as a detour, basically.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have another question from Becky Graham. What about the entrance to the falls from Lox? Will it be a roundabout or a stop sign? Or will the existing driveway be closed off and the only entrance will be on Parkside, Hillsborough?
The entrance to the falls?
To the falls.
That's the location just west of Parkside Drive. That new connection that we had to coordinate. I think, Laura, you remember this? That is to remain, correct, Laura?
That's to remain, and it's a stop sign. T intersection. Yes.
Okay, great. All right, another question. Did you consider a bike lane, I think that should be lane, excuse me. Did you consider a bike lane adjacent to the sidewalk, like the boardwalk in Hollywood? It would use less space, keep bike riders safe, and not endanger pedestrians.
Well, I think I'm going to jump to a conclusion possibly, and hopefully I'm answering this correctly. So the bike lane is adjacent to the sidewalk in good portions of the project. But maybe you're referring to like a shared use or where the bike lane is all on one side of the road. I'm not sure if that's what the intent of the question is. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that just in case, but that we did look at that to have something more like a shared use path on one side of the road. But the problem with that is that ideally it's best to have the bike lane separated on either side of the road. But secondly, it also would have required us to transfer or move the bicyclists across the road several times throughout the corridor, which is also undesirable because there just isn't enough space to maintain that width for the bike lane and sidewalk on one side of the road for the entire way. So I'm not sure if that was the intent of the question. I don't know if Helen or Laura or Ricardo has popped on if he's has any other insight into that, but otherwise, hopefully that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And the desire for the city was to have these facilities separate, the bike lanes and the sidewalks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next questions or comments and questions from Jack Ferris. I would like to understand how this was determined as the best approach. Anyone who lives in the Four Seasons, Watercrest, or the to be built new development by the preserve knows that Lox Road needs a passing lane. Slow-moving construction and service vehicles are regular travelers, and the ability to pass those vehicles is essential. You will have people veering onto the median or into the bike lanes to get past slow-moving vehicles, and that is not safe or sensible.
Well, the project, and I'm probably beating a dead horse here a little bit, but the project is not intended to be a capacity project. The project is the sole intent of the project is to provide pedestrian and bicycle and mobility type improvements within the corridor, and of course not address any kind of capacity issues or anything of that nature. There is going to be, curb that is in the median area. Yes, the bike lane pavement, in many cases, unless the typical change as it's designed right now, yes, individuals could use that, and they, but that is not, what they're supposed to do, and there may need to be some enforcement at times in order to, if people are doing that all the time. But overall, like I said, it's going to be discouraging for most vehicles or most drivers to want to pass up over top of any kind of a raised median in the center, and hopefully they will avoid doing that and avoid passing people on the right or left side, using the bike lane as well. Does Laura or Helen, you have any additional comments?
Nope, that's
to
good.
help answer?
Okay, great. Our next question, did you address how residents in Four Seasons will be able to drive around the construction? We only have exits onto Loxahatchee.
Yes, so the Four Seasons, in the vicinity of the Four Seasons, there's a significant amount of right-of-way there relative to some of the other locations along the project corridor. So the intent there is to maintain the existing 2 lanes that are out there, the two-way traffic, just like they do today, while the construction of the new lanes are being done. And I say lanes, I'm talking about bike lanes and a through lane, not capacity lanes. But so basically build the new roadway portions and move the traffic over to the new side, and then go and construct the other side, if that makes any sense. So in those areas, because there's that ability for us to do that, and that wide median also, the wide median that we're constructing also helps with that, our ability to do that. And then in the end, those communities will be able to maintain two-way traffic for the whole time that the road is under construction in front of them, so they won't be restricted.
I just want to add to that, we can send the person who asked the question, the MOT plans, they're welcome to contact us, and there will be extensive outreach during construction. When any lanes have to be closed off, they will do that coordination as well. But you're welcome to reach out to us directly. We can give you a more detailed maintenance of traffic plan.
Great, thank you so much. All right, our next question, 2 questions from Jacqueline. What is being done in the design of the roundabouts to allow cyclists to safely cross at those points? And her second question is, after considerable rainfall, Bishop Pitt Road becomes Bishop Pitt River. What will be done to that intersection to allow for adequate drainage, on that street?
Well, let me answer the second one first. The Of course, the intent of the project is on Loxahatchee Road, and while there is some construction required on the side roads in order to tie in, it's limited to whatever is necessary to tie in. As far as any drainage that has to do with the construction or on Loxahatchee Road, that will totally be taken care of with the construction, and there will not be any flooding associated with the intersection at Bishop Pitt and Loxahatchee Road. But beyond down, to the south, further to the south, if there's any issues there, we would not be addressing that as part of this project. And then actually remind me again what the first part of the question, whatever the second part was, whatever it was, the one I forgot. Nanea, if you could.
Certainly, absolutely. Her first question is, what is being done in the design of the roundabouts to allow cyclists to safely cross at those points?
Yeah, thank you. So in the roundabout areas, the cyclists, as any roundabout throughout anywhere, the intent is for the cyclists to share the roadway with the vehicular traffic through roundabouts, and it is safely done because of the nature of roundabouts are to slow traffic down, and so vehicles will be traveling at a very low speed through those roundabouts, and bicyclists will safely share that pavement with those vehicles.
Thank you very much. In the interest of time, anyone who has submitted a comment through the question box, I will not be reading it at this time. I'll only be reading the questions. We still have people whose hands are raised, so we want to make sure that we get to them as well. Okay, our next question is, no speed humps equals no concern about all the noise. Why is this?
Nanea, could you say that one more time? It kind of blanked out.
No speed humps equals no concern about all the noise. Why? So why no speed humps?
Well, the speed humps become unnecessary as a part of the construction of the roadway, and also it's not conducive to bicycle traffic to have those speed bumps as well. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the calming nature of the medians, the landscaping, and the roundabouts is intended as a measure against any speeding, and therefore making the need for speed humps unnecessary. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you very much. All right, our next question is, any chance that we can have a stop sign at Bishop Pitt Road? That would help to slow down the traffic.
A stop sign at Bishop Pitt Road, there will be a stop sign at Bishop Pitt Road. So, I'm sorry. I assume they must mean on Loxahatchee Road, making it a three-way stop, I assume. There is one in the northbound direction, of course, as vehicles approach on Bishop Pitt Road to Loxahatchee Road. There is a stop sign there. But there is not any intent to make any other of the approaches a stop condition. Yeah, so let's leave it at that. But that is the intent or the design as it stands today.
Thank you very much. Our next question from Jason Clifford. Will you be able to make a left coming out of Parkland Place and right from 441 into Parkland Place?
Out of Parkland Place, actually, Laura, can you help me remember in front of that area if the...
Yep, Parkland Place will have full access in and out.
It does, okay.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, this is where we're proposing the extra left turn lane. Well,
yes.
We're putting a left turn lane, just one.
Yeah. There is no existing left turn lane, but as a part of our improvements, we are providing that community with a turn lane. And there is no median in that area, so they will have full access.
I'm sorry, that's Northwest 61st Way is how I refer to it, so
yes.
I apologize.
Same thing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question from Drew Nathanson. Another question. When the wedge was first considered to be annexed into the city, FDOT was asked to do an impact study and traffic patterns were supposed to be evaluated prior to land transfer from Palm Beach to Broward. Traffic has increased exponentially. Why did FDOT not share the results with the affected communities as promised?
Well, unfortunately, that's outside of the realm of my involvement on the Loxahatchee Road project. So I'm not really sure I have the answer to that, but I'd like to see if Helen has any further input on that one.
I'm going to have to look into this. I do not know of any study that we conducted during this annex, but I will look into it. Ricardo, do you know?
So the only thing I know that, it wasn't FDOT who made a commitment. It was actually Broward County annexed the road. I don't know if the commitment was made at that time, but it wasn't FDOT. So who actually annexed this area was Broward County government. So if anything, we can reach out to them and see what they've done.
Yeah, I will look into this. Thank you, Drew.
Okay, our next question. Fixing the new left turn onto 441 is a 5-minute fix, just repainting the road to allow for a left turn. Why isn't that being done? Like, way?
Well, actually, it's not as easy as that. First of all, there isn't enough space without us widening the road to add an additional left turn lane. So the widening of the road in that area as you approach State Road 7 is absolutely required in order to provide an additional left turn lane. But also the existing signal at that intersection is not set up to accept or provide stop control for an additional left turn lane eastbound approach. So we in fact are adding additional mast arm at that location in order to provide the proper signal control for that new configuration.
Okay, thank you so much. In the interest of time, we do still have quite a few questions in the question box, but I do want to get to some people who have had their hands raised for all of this time. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute Anthony. Please forgive me if I mispronounce your last name, Titone. I'm going to unmute you. Please feel free to go ahead and speak. Your hand is raised.
Yeah, I represent S&B Landscaping, and I sent the email to Helen about it. If someone's coming east, a customer coming from the west goes into S&B Landscaping, once they exit, they have to make a right turn. And the way I see the plan now with the medium, they will have to go all the way down to 441 and possibly make a U-turn at 441 to get back to their home, which is out west. Have you people thought about that problem? I mean, it's going to be a significant problem because people who go to the Chabad or S&B, they leave those parcels, they make a right. There's no way for them to get back to their homes, which is west. So they have to go all the way down to 441. I guess my first question is, could they make a U-turn at 441? If not, they're going to wind up going north on 441 and still not be able to get back to where they're from. You see what I'm talking about, Ricardo? Yeah. That's a big problem.
Yes,
unless there's going to be a cutout in some way allowing some of that traffic to go back from where they came from. That's a significant problem. And by the way, I'm on that road a lot. It's a very congested road, a lot of traffic, and I commend you people for trying to do so much with so little. It really will be quite a significant achievement if you get it done. But the big problem is those people coming into S&B or Chabad. How do they get back home?
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Yes, I did. I did reach out to the county and the city, and we're trying to find a way to address this.
All right. Okay, I'll work with you, Helen. Anything I could do. We already gave up property, and we just want to make it safe. We don't want a customer coming in or a truck coming in, picking up a bunch of stuff and finding no way to get back home. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'd like to call on Doug Cruz. Your hand has been raised. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Doug Cruz, K-R-U-S-E.
Hello, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Go
Very
ahead.
good. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time that you've all spent with us this evening on this project. I've got two areas I just wanted to explore with you briefly. One is that Mr. Horlander mentioned that this was a type 3 project, and I see in the Q&A you've indicated that this was a type 3 project right from the start. But back in 2018 at City Hall, there was a presentation by Department of Transportation and Parkland folks involved in this as well, where we asked a lot of questions about noise, and we were told that there's going to be a noise abatement study, that if that noise abatement study demonstrated that the noise was sufficient, then the money of the project would include funding for that. We were told we'd get the results of that study in March. In fact, there was a meeting scheduled on March 6, 2019, which was subsequently canceled or quote postponed. We never heard another word about this after that. So if we've known all along that this was a type 3 and there was going to be no noise abatement funds available, why on earth were we telling residents for years that there was going to be a noise abatement study done? And why not just tell us right from the get-go, look, folks, we're not going to be able to do this?
So I don't know, I'm not able to answer that question fully. I'm going to have to rely on Helen for a lot of that, if you can weigh in on that, Helen.
Thank you, Doug. Yes, we did present in 2018. We had a hearing and this did come up.
Yes.
At that point, they had already started the noise study. And the results were provided to the city. I don't know if they were provided directly to the individuals, but we can send that out to the homeowners, to the HOAs to distribute. And in a typical project, when the noise study is done, the steps that were told at the hearing in 2018, those are the steps would follow. Excuse me. The federal funds would be used to provide a noise wall. We started the study proactively. It probably is something that should not have been started at that point, but it had started, and then we went ahead and finished it off and then provided the results.
With respect, I guess my question really is, why would you folks, not you personally, obviously, although maybe you were at the meeting, I don't recall who was there, but there were quite a few speakers representing both the city of Parkland and the State Department of Transportation. And not a single person in a couple of hours of meetings and about 45 minutes of post-meeting follow-up conversation with individuals and others said at any time, listen, folks, we already know this is a type 3 project and therefore it won't qualify for noise funding. Didn't you know that was the case back then?
Like I said, they had not, when they were doing the study, I don't think they had delved that deep into it. That's a mistake on our part.
Sure.
And as soon as we found out what it was, we did, reach out to the city and the county and provide them this information.
Very good. My second area that I just wanted to pursue with you, and thank you very much for that, Ms. James, is that anybody who has traveled on Lox Road, anybody who lives over in this area, as I do, and I've been here 12 years, if you talk to anybody in these neighborhoods or anyone who's been around Parkland long enough, they will tell you that the key problems with Loxahatchee Road, particularly since we opened it up at Knob and University and we had the huge expansion of homes in the wedge, everybody knows the problems with Lox Road are: 1, the lanes are narrow and therefore dangerous. 2, speeding is a serious problem on that road. And 3, with the dramatic increase of traffic, including construction vehicles, noise is a major problem. We've all been clamoring about this for years, but it appears that the solution Parkland and the county have come up with and the state is, aha, let's build bike lanes. Bike lanes are not a solution to any of the problems on Lox Road, and yet for years, we've had everybody telling us every time folks come to a meeting and say, hey, we got problems, you've opened up these other roads to Lox, we've got all kinds of traffic coming, it's very dangerous, they're speeding. The gentleman earlier mentioned people passing each other on the sides of the road, traffic going too slow, 441 tie-ups. And all these years, everybody has said, listen, don't worry, we've got this LOX program that's going to improve this road. Fact of the matter is, it doesn't appear that the purpose of this project was anything other than adding bike lanes, frankly. And to me, you guys are, not you guys personally, but we're solving the wrong problem here. And we sit through these presentations, and it's only now that everybody is very much forwardly calling this specifically a bike lane project. That's the first I've heard anyone actually call it that. I happen to have caught in the conversation at the 2018 meeting, I think it was in follow-on conversation, not even the presentation, but there was some tangential mention of some federal funding program that was for expanding things like bike lanes. And I figured, okay, apparently Parkland decided the allure of federal funds was enough to try to, add bike lanes to this LOX project. But now I come to find out that no, bike lanes weren't added to the LOX project in order to generate federal money. They are the LOX project. And so we're solving the wrong problem. Why is this? And has nobody raised this in the, since 2009, the 12 years that this has been going on?
Well, again, I'm going to have to go ahead, Helen, sorry.
Sorry, Scott. Yeah, those are all valid concerns. Yes, we understand the development has increased the traffic. That's something FDOT could not control since we do not own the roadway. Then regarding the type of project and the funding that's used for this project, the federal fund, well, the way the project was presented and prioritized and vetted by the MPO was to add bike lanes and sidewalks and the traffic calming features, and that's how the federal funds were delivered to this project. Ricardo, if you have something else to add to see how the project came about.
Yes, thank you, Helen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Yeah, definitely. This project was identified in one of our plans. So it was identified in our long-range transportation plan as a multimodal improvement. So what the MPO typically does, we identify a project. I'm hearing some noise in the background. Can somebody mute themselves, please? Okay. So typically what the MPO does is identifies a project and secures funding for that particular project. The project that we identified, this is the MPO, this is not the city or the county, was a multimodal improvement along Loxahatchee Road. So what we do, we meet with the local government, which is the county and the city, and we go over with them, this is what we envision this corridor based on the analysis that we've done. And we work with them to develop the scope of the project. From our end, it's about safety. First of all, about people, not necessarily moving vehicles, about moving people and the mode of their choice. Again, we work with the locals who actually own these facilities and determine what works for them. The MPO provides the fund, identifies the projects, provides the funding, but ultimately we work with the local governments to identify what the needs for this corridor are. This particular corridor was about multimodal improvements along the Loxahatchee Road from State Road 7 to the levee.
Did nobody at the local level say to you at the MPO, listen, folks, sweet idea to add bike lanes. Who doesn't like bike lanes? But listen, we're talking about a road that's already too narrow, that's planned to be congested. The wedge plan was already in place and pretty hot and heavy by the time you were rolling on this thing.
Yep.
Did no one say to you, Mr. Gutierrez, listen, sweet idea, but this is the wrong solution?
Well, one of the things that we do, because we also fund capacity improvements. So if this corridor would have shown us an overcapacity improvement, that's the project we would have funded. In our plans, it doesn't show as a higher priority for capacity. And when you do a transportation model runs, it includes actually future development. It includes projections out to 2045. So that is included in the model when we do our runs. This particular segment was not eligible for capacity improvements because it wasn't identified as such in any of our plans. So even if the city would have said, we need to widen this road, this is what we really need, it wouldn't qualify for the federal funds that we're bringing in. Right. So that would have been completely the city and the county putting their own local funding to do a capacity improvement along this corridor.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I'm saying we should have done, because again, we appreciate the work that you and your team do, and there's certainly many wonderful, beautiful places throughout Broward County, not just in Parkland, that you guys have improved, and we enjoy and appreciate it. But here now, we've created a serious problem for a lot of residents, including a noise problem that we've basically long been promised someone's going to address, but now we're told no. We've known from day one noise wasn't going to be part of this. And we've been now know from day one capacity wasn't part of this. I don't understand why we're doing this project other than looks. And frankly, I'd rather have a solution other than looks. But anyway, I've taken up enough time and others want to speak. And I do appreciate all of the work that you're doing and the time that you spent with us tonight. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have one other hand that has been raised very patiently. Thank you so much. Ms. Mary Kranzler, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Please unmute yourself. And you have the floor. Mary Kranzler.
Hi, good evening.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
We can. There is a lot of feedback. If you are near a computer,
No. Maybe it's my phone.
if you're on your phone and you're in front of the computer, that will.
Is that better? Wait, I'm trying to get my phone off. Take it in the other room. Okay, sorry. We're recent additional homeowners in Parkland. We live in Four Seasons. I don't know if you can hear me now. We're trying to get rid of that.
That's better.
Thank you. And my husband had a doctor's appointment a few weeks ago, and the roads were just being patched in 3 areas there on Loxahatchee, and he was held up for so long it was ridiculous. And that was just a small project. So unfortunately, with Four Seasons, we only have one ingress and egress. So we're going to have a real problem when this project goes into production. But I have a question, and the question is, because the last speaker raised the problem that I see, and that is, do we really need bike lanes? Was there a study done? Was there a percentage of cyclists as opposed to vehicular traffic? What's the ratio? I just don't see it. We're up and down Loxahatchee all the time, and I see cyclists using the pedestrian lane.
Well,
So can someone tell me why the bicycle lanes were so important apart from funding?
Yeah, I'm gonna, I think Ricardo would be the best person to answer that. He's got that input. Yeah, go ahead, Ricardo.
well, I think you just mentioned one of the biggest issues, that you had all the cyclists on the sidewalks. One of the things that we're trying to accomplish here is not necessarily just about a bike lane or a sidewalk. It's really to provide a roadway that really addresses the needs of everybody. Because we believe when we clearly delineate the space for the cyclists, for the pedestrian and the motorists, we create safer roads. And actually it's proven, we have data to show that that happens. So it's about safety, first of all. So that is one of the reasons why we started with this project. It's about safety for all the modes of transportation. So definitely, more importantly, the most, like the cyclists or pedestrians, definitely. So that is one of the things that we wanted to do is, and data backs us up with, it's about safety. So that is exactly why we actually pursuing this project. More important to the NPO.
But I have to, because right now it's really unsafe to drive a motor car on that road. I mean, it's very difficult, and especially with trucks delivering, whatever they are delivering for the project, it makes it even more difficult. I agree with the last speaker. I don't see this project relieving the problem of vehicular traffic.
Well,
and I would like to know if there was a study done, that was my question, Was a
Yes.
study done? And what
Mhm.
was the percentage of bicycles as opposed to vehicular traffic? What's the ratio? Because it doesn't
Well,
make sense to me.
Okay, one of the things, we don't have that number, but I can look at the number up. We have some data that we actually collected a long time ago when this project was first identified. But again, this is about creating a safer road for all those users of the road, for the pedestrian, the cyclist, and the motorist. One of the things that the gentleman before you spoke about is speed. What we're designing here is actually going to slow that traffic. It's actually, you have traffic coming, you have the medians that act as a vertical structure that will slow down traffic a little bit. You have the roundabouts, another traffic calming measure. So again, this is about safety, and that's what's important to the MPO. And again, what you see at the project that you see in front of you today is actually was working very closely together, working very close with the city, the county, and FDOT. So this is not just one person's idea.
Not with the residents
Oh,
who are using that road up and down every day. I'm
Again,
sorry, I really think this is a big problem. And I think that you're exaggerating the usefulness of the median, because I can visualize myself driving down, towards 441 from Four Seasons, having a cyclist to my right and a median to my left, and the cyclist wobbles and falls off his bicycle. There's nowhere for me to go except to hit him.
well, we hope that doesn't happen. But I think one of the things that what we're doing is it's providing that buffer bike lane, additional space. So if that actually does happen, the bicyclist has some room to recover, right? So I think that's one of the things that's included here, that you still have the bicyclists on the road, but something like that happens. You just mentioned there's enough space for the bicycle to recover.
Well, if you could get us an answer to that question about the percentage of cyclists as opposed to the vehicular traffic, and when that study was done, because obviously there've been two huge projects since your earlier study of 2018 that have added considerable traffic.
Right. Yeah. Again, I don't know about the local development. I'm looking at this from the regional context. But yeah, I will look at what how this project was selected, and if there are any numbers that we definitely will share with you. But this project was selected basically as a multimodal improvement to create safe the road, connecting State Road 7 to the levee. So we'll provide any information that we have that was part of that study.
I would appreciate it.
Thank you. Great comments too. Great questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, we are going to, that was the last of our verbal comments and questions. We're going to circle back to some of our written questions in the question box before we close out the presentation tonight. Few more last questions here from Sean. Sorry if this has been answered already. This is a two-part question. What are the plans to mitigate traffic on the east end of the Parkland Place community? Is a light plan to be installed, and will a left turn lane be added to prevent backups coming westward out of the south curve?
Out of the what, Nana?
Out of the S curve.
Oh, okay. I think
S curve. Excuse me.
Did they say Parkland Place specifically?
Parkland Place community. He continues to say traffic frequently backs up, blocking the entrance to the Parkland Place community.
Okay, yeah, we are addressing that in the design, and that is to add a westbound left turn lane at Northwest 61st Way, the entrance to Parkland Place.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And also, due to the interest of time, I'll be addressing the questions of the people who are still here instead of anyone who has already left the meeting. All right, another question from Bob Mayerson. It's been stated that a noise wall abatement is not part of this project because it's not eligible for federal funding guidelines. So what was the purpose of doing a study that doesn't qualify for abatement, and what agency funded the study?
I'm going to start that, just to say that the intent, as I understand it, of doing this study was just as an opportunity or a way of being proactive in the design and collecting of data. But beyond that, I'm going to turn that over to Helen and see if she has any further background on that.
Yes, well, second part of the question asking what agency funded the study. Federal funds were used to this for the study. Even though the federal funds cannot be used for the construction of the noise abatement, design and studies can be covered under federal funds.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question from Becky Graham. Clarification, excuse me. There will be a T-stop, or will there be a T-stop sign on Locks and Falls entrance, and then a roundabout immediately after at Parkside, Loxahatchee? This seems like it would be a traffic nightmare. Any thoughts?
No, there will not be a stop sign at that location. And I didn't quite hear the second part about at Parkside. Could you repeat that part?
Yes. There will be a T-stop sign on Locks and Falls entrance, and then the roundabout immediately after Parkside Locks. Immediately after at Parkside Locks. This
Okay.
seems like it would be a traffic nightmare. Thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, there should not be any issue with the access to the roadway from that location. There isn't any stop sign proposed on Loxahatchee to stop traffic on Loxahatchee. Laura, do you have any?
No, yeah, this is clarification on the question we had before. There is going to be a stop sign on the side street. There are no stop signs actually on Loxahatchee Road, because it's not too close to Parkside Drive, but I understand that is not going to be a stop there on Locks. Locks will go straight through. There's a stop on the side street.
Okay, great. Our next question from Kimberly. On the eastern section, east of Parkside, what side of the road will the new FPL light poles be installed? If on the south side, alongside the communities along Locks, what is being done so that the lights aren't a nuisance to those homes along Loxahatchee?
Well, if I heard you correctly, east of Parkside, there's no changes to the Florida Power and Light poles in that area. So, and so they're going to remain as is. And I think you said something about lighting, but the lighting that's on there today will stay there, no changes. But could you maybe clarify that second half of that question in case I didn't hear something correctly?
Sorry about that. The second half is if on the south side, alongside the communities along Locks, what is being done so that the lights aren't a nuisance to homes along Loxahatchee?
If the lights are not what? Sorry, it keeps breaking up on me right then. If the lights are...
What is being done so that the lights are not a nuisance to the homes along Loxahatchee?
Oh, okay. Again, since FPNL is not in changing out their poles or anything of that nature, the lights that are there today will not change, and the light levels and what have you will be the same. While we do have lighting in other parts of the project in that area, our design is not adding in additional lighting either. So, so again, this project is not intended to address any existing lighting complaints that residents may have. And I'm not familiar with any in that particular area, but that's all I can tell you really, is that this project will not increase that and change the existing condition in any way in that area.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, will the guardrail be upgraded to something more aesthetically pleasing than what's currently there?
It is going to be upgraded to meet current standards, which is a little bit different than what was put out there, than what you see out there today. other than the fact that it will be new, it will not be any more aesthetically pleasing than a shiny galvanized guardrail. But it will be new, which is nice, and they do look nice when they are new. But there won't be any, I assume you mean some black powder coating on it, or green or whatever, which is sometimes used, but that is not intended to be included in this project, just plain guardrail.
Thank you very much. And this will be our last question of the evening from Walter. His comment and question: too many delays on this project. Why can't you advance the construction start? We need wider lanes now.
Well, to go back to the tail end of that comment, so this project is not a capacity project and won't address any need for additional lanes or anything of that nature. It's not that kind of project. And then I'm sorry, the first part was again the repeat that one more time for me.
Sure. His comment is there are too many delays on this project. Why can't you advance the construction start date?
Advancing it. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, the design of the project did encounter significant permitting requirements that we had to go through that process. Specifically, Army Corps of Engineers is a very, very, very long process. And so as a result, we had to work through all of that. And then the funding or the construction start date had to be put into a period which there was available funding. And so that's how it is set today. There is still, while we still have one permit we have to receive, we also have significant utility involvement on the project and a lot of work that needs to be done by those utilities prior to our construction in order for us to start construction. So because they have to be out of our way in order for us to come in and turn the dirt and start installing our improvements. So all of that takes time and we've worked through it. The permitting is, as I said, nearly done. So that's all really good and really on schedule and moving forward quite nicely. And the same thing with the utilities and the relocations that we need to address. That's all going forward as well. But again, it just takes a lot of time, and it's a lot of things that that we have to rely on other agencies to get done. And so we're working through all that, and we have the construction scheduled as fast as we can possibly do it.
Thank you so much, Scott. This concludes our open discussion portion of the meeting. Any additional comments or questions must be submitted by May 28th. If you could move to slide 43, please, and then slide 44. Slide 44. Okay, again, all additional comments and questions must be submitted by May 28th. If for any reason at all that your question was not responded to during this open discussion portion, a response will be provided to you at a later date. Again, all questions and comments submitted through these options are part of the public record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the department during their decision-making process. The public comment period will remain open to accommodate the public who view the meeting video after this live event. Slide 45, please. You may submit any additional comments or questions to the project manager directly. At this time, I'm going to read aloud the project manager's contact information for any of those following along on a PDF or for our listen-only attendees. Our project manager, as you heard throughout the meeting, is Ms. Helen James. She can be reached at the Florida Department of Transportation, District 4 office. The address is 3400 West Commercial Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida 33309. Her email address is helen.james@dot.state.fl like Florida .us like United States. Her phone number is 954-777-4346. Upon completion of this meeting, you will receive a survey We hope that you will fill this survey out because your input is very important to us. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful night.